Hello friends, I am Rob, the Dungeon Tutor, and today I have a very special question. This is from one of our friends from the GUI Game Masters Den of Enlightenment on Facebook, the social group for GUI Cube. And in this, I'm going to respond to one Doug Zeller, who was nice enough to send me this question, an idea for a video, and I'm going to pounce on it. He wanted a video about, as one of the topics, Chekov's gun. Now, if you're not familiar with Chekov's gun, it actually has its root in stagecraft. Chekov, of course, playwright. And the principle is this. Chekov's gun rule states that if you have a gun on a wall in a play or performance, that gun at some point during the play has to be taken down and shot or used in some way to menace somebody or something. But it needs to be something done with it. And how does that apply to gaming? Well, it's actually quite straightforward, and that's an expression that's transcended stagecraft, certainly. And it's simply this. It's about a focus of purpose. Don't have something shiny that's going to capture people's attention and imagination and not expect them to play with it. So, we'll just cite a few examples here. First of all, if, for instance, you have your adventure take place in, say you run Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, cool. Let's say you use the campaign of Planescape, and you have an adventure set in Sigil, the City of Doors. Okay, it's kind of a fascinating city itself. The entire thing is on the inside of a giant donut floating above the spire, the crux of the universe, and it's the inner ring of a large hollow disc. And there's people of all walks of life that cross through there. You've got demons and angels and strange and bizarre things from the multiverse, as well as humans, some from very familiar realms who just kind of pop through or use Sigil as a way to jump from one place to another. You can have all kinds of fascinating adventures in Sigil. One of the central figures of Sigil is known as the Lady of Pain. She's a tall, kind of statuesque woman. If you've seen a picture of her, she's very striking. Why? Because she's covered all over with blades sticking out of her. And she just floats through the streets and makes sure that the town stays safe from the intervention of any other powers. She is the sole arbiter of what goes on in Sigil, and while she's got a pretty lenient hand, she doesn't usually interfere in the day-to-day life of anybody. She is capable of putting anybody who comes into the town in their place, be they demigods or what. Well, gods are generally not allowed in, but be they, greater powers or anything like that. If you try to shake things up in Sigil, you're probably going to run across her. Now, how does this fit with Chekov's gun? Well, it's quite simple. If you're running something and the party happens to go through Sigil, and you throw the Lady of Pain out there, they run into her, she'd better do something. Otherwise, there's no real point. You've brought up something that draws attention, draws fascination, draws the player's focus away from something else, in which case you're diffusing your purpose. You're deflating whatever they're doing by putting something really cool out that doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing. It's not to say that you can't use the Lady of Pain. I'm just saying that if you bring the Lady of Pain out in an adventure in Sigil, she had best do something, and it would be best if it had something to do directly with what the characters are doing. So, for instance, if the party is there to meet with somebody, and you decide you're going to introduce the Lady of Pain, an interesting idea would be if that person they're there to meet runs afoul of the Lady of Pain's edicts. They're trying to pull off some shenanigans she won't tolerate, and they show up just in time for her to bamf them away into one of her hidden oubliettes. Now the party's got an issue. They needed that person. You gave them enough purpose. They need that person. But generally people don't escape from the Lady of Pain's prisons. So they've got a couple of options. They could have an interesting role-playing opportunity trying to beseech the Lady of Pain to release the person they're there for. Maybe they will be willing to run quests for the Lady of Pain to redress the wrongs that their contact made. Maybe some other arrangement can be made. Maybe if the party is very, very powerful, maybe they might try combat or some other means, but bear in mind she's extraordinarily powerful and almost impossible to really overcome in her city. So, and she never leaves her city. It's kind of a tough go. It would really cry out for a situation that does not involve combat. But that's the thing. If you bring out something shiny, the players will fixate on it. Another example I'll give is my own fictional city of Anhasley. Anhasley is the city of guilds. It is a place where you can get almost anything, anytime, but the politics of the guilds and everything is fearsome. And the entire city is ruled by a person known as the Golden Lady. It's a woman who walks around. She's always dressed in gold and cloth of gold or something, but it's always gold. She's always marked out quite clearly as who she is. Sometimes it's golden armor with, maybe golden weaponry, but never fails to be gold. And she is capable. She's accomplished as a mighty spellcaster. Deeds done to her magic have been attributed to, archmage level magics, and the party should never see her, ever. Should never see her. She's a powerful character that overshadows whatever the party is doing, and that just creates diffusion. That just creates, a dissatisfaction. They saw what is up in the epitome of what they could do. But now they're going to go back to worrying about tracking down this group of renegade thieves, for instance, who murdered an acquaintance of theirs. If you're going to have the Golden Lady appear, the Golden Lady should do something. There should be a genuine reason why they bump into the Golden Lady. Maybe she's going to attend to something that will spin off another story branch for the characters. Maybe her presence is there to highlight something that the party should pay some attention to, something deeper than what they're currently working on, so they have something to immediately cut to when they're done with their business. It is something that you should not bring out unless you're ready to build something off of that. A corollary to that would be, if you do put something of interest into your adventure, don't be surprised if the players want to play with it. So, for instance, if you, just throw this out for an example, say you decide that the local king is the current holder of Black Razor, an artifact-level weapon, and he displays it above his mantle, and he invites the local heroes and notables and the party, having done some heroism in the area, to a grand feast. The party goes into the castle, they enjoy the aperitifs, they hobnob with a few people, and the fighter is invariably drawn to the study and the hearth, and he says, "Wow, is that Black Razor there?" If they know what Black Razor is, a very powerful artifact sword. Yeah, that's Black Razor up there. Even if you don't know Black Razor from the history of D&D, just take my word for it. It's pretty special. It messed Vecna up pretty bad. Reason why he's missing a hand and an eye. So, but there you got it. Black Razor. The fighter, who normally is pretty heroic, pretty special guy, does risk his life numerous times for the party. I'm gonna steal it. You weren't planning on this, but you really shouldn't have been surprised if you felt the need to put the actual Black Razor. They can verify that is the actual Black Razor. The party making some attempt to get it, despite the fact that it doesn't fit their morals to do it. They want this super cool thing that you put in front of them. Maybe you had in mind that far down the road, maybe they would get this powerful magical weapon. But now you have to deal with the fact that they are young, hungry, and they want it because it's a cool thing you put out that they want to play with now. Kind of on you, really, as a game master, for even putting that there. Now, of course, there are numerous ways around that. You can hint at something without actually showing it. For instance, that thing on the hearth, when they try to verify, is that really Black Razor? Well, it doesn't radiate any magic. It's a replica. He doesn't actually have the actual Black Razor just there where somebody could possibly take it. But if the party wants to try to take it, and let's face it, having a really good replica of Black Razor might be handy to someone. You know, have fun with that. But if you show the actual thing, yeah, expect that to happen. Other things that are, you know, that fit this whole theme, decks of many things. A deck of many things is capable of destroying an entire campaign, making you lose several characters, and then having to plug them in, and it can get really, really messy. Unless you're prepared for the end of a campaign, don't even put it out. Even if the adventure calls for one, you know, call an audible. Don't put that shiny thing out where it might lead the players into some sort of trouble. It's not a terribly hard burden, is Chekov's gun. It's a matter of self-checking yourself to make sure that you're not tempting the players with things that they just have to mess with. There's no other alternative. They have to do this because that's a shiny, cool thing, and they're in a game that's there to kind of let them play out their power fantasies. Yeah. Now, obviously, some games are different, but in general, it's a fairly sound principle. If you're playing something like, oh, let's say Call of Cthulhu, and you put out the Necronomicon, it's a shiny thing. It's a terrible shiny thing. Don't get me wrong. Anybody who has a shred of understanding of even the pop culture references of all of that knows that that's bad juju. But you've got the degree of separation that's your character. That's not me doing this. And even though it's evil, even though it's probably going to do something bad to my character, interesting stuff is going to happen as a result. So you might think, okay, hey, the party runs across the Necronomicon in my game. Don't be too shocked if one of the players goes, okay, I'm going to read a page from it. Especially if they put it in their pack or something and they carry it around with them. When bad things happen, they're going to be like, I'm going to look in the Necronomicon for something that tells me how to deal with this. It's got strange rituals and demon summonings. Maybe it has something to fight against this. It's a logical response, and if you put the Necronomicon in place, that's your consequence that you just earned for yourself. So that's why self-control over the cool things that you put into the game, unless you're prepared for the players to play around with it, it's generally a good idea not to do that. And it will also then lead you to a sense of ramping up your story as you are getting to the point where the players can play around with those very big things. When you reveal them, you don't have to worry about the fact that you may have already plateaued because you already showed off the really cool thing when they weren't ready for it yet. Now you have all that range between where they were and where they are, where you can show them potentially Black Razor when they might actually be reasonably equipped to handle something like that. It's just generally good game design and good game principles that would have a build-up to something like that rather than show off something big and flashy. So, another thing that is kind of, again, another corollary is that if you put a gun on the wall, make sure that it's loaded. Why would you say that? Because a gun by itself is a powerful symbol. It really is. But if it's completely safe and it's demonstrated to the audience that it's completely safe, then it's just a prop. Then it's no longer a gun in that story. It's just a wall decoration. It's a painting. No. Whatever you show, if it is that cool, it should have some significance. So, if, for instance, you do show that, oh, say in this kingdom there's a dragon. Okay, there's a dragon. That's going to be something they're going to have to deal with at the end of the story. Party decides at 2nd level they're going to belt up everything and they're going to go take on the dragon and take their treasure. And they can't take it. They can't handle it. As a game master, if that is a dragon and you're not just throwing them a huge swerve, that should be a dragon. Or the dragon should have a really good reason not to kill the party. Should be able to demonstrate admirably that they can, that it can defeat the party. Say, 2nd level, they're like, okay, we're at the dragon's lair. It's up. We had to hike up this mountain, but we're here. We know the dragon's inside. He's been seen flying in with a cow. Flew in. We know the dragon's there. We know it's been active for about 2,000 years. It's been raiding the area. It's got to have mounds and mounds of treasure. We're all 2nd level now. We have chain armor. We've got swords. We've got spears. We are ready to go in. Our wizard can cast a magic missile. Let's do this. Unless it's a wormling, and again, that gets rid of the 2,000 years thing. If you have determined that that is a dragon in there, the party should have an encounter that is worthy of a dragon. Does that mean you have to kill them? Not necessarily. I mean, if you say the dragon is off on vacation, they get there and all they find is a couple of brass coins. Yeah, you could do that. Kinda, yeah. But what you could do is reinforce the gravitas of that and have the dragon attack the party and let it be shown. Their attacks bounce off of it. The dragon takes no great damage. The dragon taunts them with the fact that they can't hurt it, that it's been watching them this whole time. It knows they are of no menace to it. And the only thing they could do is even annoy it at this point. It's allowed them to get this far because it's tested out of its traps. It's tested the competence of its minions, and they've been found wanting. But now, here's the thing. I could kill all of you. Absolutely. And stop poking at me with that spear. It's annoying. He's dying. You want to stabilize him? Okay. So, now that you're here, I could use you. Aha! Now we have a role-playing situation. We've turned that party kill into the dragon's willing to talk. What if the party doesn't listen? What if the party keeps trying to attack? In the vain hope of getting all those criticals, maybe you use a house rule exploding die so they have a glimmer of hope they can beat this dragon. The dragon goes, okay. Dragon breath. All of you make a saving throw. Alright, you all drop. Well done. Then you wake up. What? Well, the dragon didn't kill you. The dragon did not use its full breath weapon. It just used, it's old enough that it used a lesser version of it, and you all wake up. You are, for instance, how I might do it, you all wake up. Your wounds are healed, you are singed, your hair on your body is mostly gone, and you are completely naked down to your loincloths and whatever you need for modesty, but everything's been taken. The dragon took everything from you. Wizards and their spell books, warriors with all their armor, all their weapons, every coin. And, well, what's the party going to do now? You're starting all over again. It's time to go out and cut quarterstaves and clubs and try to get back some money so that you can get some armor again, or maybe you didn't take all of your money with you and you have something to fall back on. But I've at least, if I put that dragon out there, that dragon is loaded. Now they know the dragon can snuff them like that. If the players are playing their characters at all, and they're anything other than suicidal twits, they'll go, maybe we shouldn't go and fight that dragon. Yeah, that might not be a good idea. With the example of the Lady of Pain, if they decide they want to try to fight the Lady of Pain, it's an incredibly bad idea. And it will result in them having to make very difficult saving throws, or poof, she casts them into a prison. Poof, she doesn't even really need to bother to fight. Although she could lay somebody out with all of those blades and her OP powers, but you get what I'm saying here. If you're going to put the gun in place, it's got to be loaded. It's got to be able to fire. So the thing that you put in place, if it's just a blank, if it's a tease, it never had any significance, then all you did was possibly diffuse the party's attention for no great gain. So that's Chekov's gun and several of the corollaries to it as they apply to role-playing games. It's all about focus. It's about focusing your players and their attention on what's going on in the game. And it's a matter of focusing your story as a game master so that you're not constantly throwing out distractions. Trying to enrich your world, yeah, that's a good thing. But throwing out the coolest things right away to tempt your players is often going to backfire on you. At the very least, it will shake even the resolve of the greatest players just a little bit, seeing stuff trotted out in front of them. And it's a common mistake of inexperienced game masters trying to throw out really cool things to draw their players' attention and say, oh, isn't that cool? The next step after that is going into the Monty Hall syndrome, of which I know quite a bit about, but that's something we'll talk about in a later episode. So I want to, again, thank my friends at the GUI Game Masters Den of Enlightenment. I especially want to thank Doug and Austin and Brittany and Chad, who all threw out ideas for me. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that I can get to all of yours in a timely fashion so that I can offer some insights that you might enjoy. Certainly will be my intention. So until next time, thank you very much for joining me. I am Rob the Dungeon Tutor, and I shall see you next session. Until that time, though, farewell.